Hi everyone, welcome to KickoffLabs On Growth. This week we're going to feature my interview with Bailey Nelson from Glowforge. Glowforge is a desktop 3D laser printer cutter engraver. The company raised over $27 million during a 30-day crowdfunding campaign. In this interview, you'll learn how they set themselves up for success by pre-launching the crowdfunding on Kickoff Labs and gathered over 10,000 email addresses with a Refer a Friend campaign. You'll hear how they personalized the campaign in Kickoff Labs, worked closely with the influencers they discovered to keep them engaged, and were willing to give people steep discounts as a reward for bringing on additional customers. They're one of my favorite customers to work with, and this interview gets pretty tactical as we review some of the copywriting and design details that they put into their pre-launch campaign that set it over the edge. All right, we are live. Welcome to today's Kickoff Labs marketing chat. Today we are talking to Bailey Nelson from Glowforge, and we are going to talk about how to launch the biggest 30-day crowdfunding campaign in history. It's not just an exaggeration. I mean, you guys, they raised $27 million in crowdfunding. By any measure, is a phenomenal success. Thrilled to have Bailey here. I'm Josh Legard, if you don't know, founder of Kickoff Labs. We help people run referral contests, online promotions, and in this case, helped them with a pre-launch campaign that generated over 10,000 emails to seed their initial list and really kick off that crowdfunding campaign because they had a very systematic way they went about it, which we'll get into in the chat. You and I were just chatting before this webinar started, so what's kind of your background and how your role has evolved at Glowforge?
Yeah, my background, I originally started my career in public relations, like at an agency setting, and then I ended up moving back home to Seattle and getting into the startup scene, which led to me meeting Dan, our CEO here at Glowforge. And first time with the crowdfund, I'd actually really only backed a couple of Kickstarters. And to be clear, this was not a Kickstarter, this was self-hosted. So we didn't have the huge database or the huge community of Kickstarter folks to draw from. So we really had to do that legwork ourselves of getting our list into a good condition.
Back up just a little bit, and for people that aren't familiar, can you give people the pitch about what Glowforge is and what you can do with it?
So Glowforge is a 3D laser printer. It's basically a desktop laser cutter engraver. It's about, it's about the size of a big suitcase or something like that. It sits on your desk, and it can cut leather, wood, acrylic, different types of plastic, fabric, cardboard, things like that. So everything you see in that picture there on sort of our stealth mode website, that was made with it. You can see the laptop is engraved because it can engrave on different types of metals. And so it's sort of an at-home tool or a small business tool for, a ton of different people. We weren't really sure who we were marketing to, honestly, at this point with this page that you see. But now that we've done this really successful campaign, we see that it has more use cases than we even imagined, everywhere from movie props to engraving serial numbers in medical devices to Etsy stores and on and on and on.
That's really cool. So where did the initial idea come from for this kind of product? I mean, 3D printers have been talked about for a while, where it's, you take the plastic mold and you produce something out of the plastic mold. So where did the idea for doing something that does this kind of printing at a more consumer, prosumer, consumer level come from?
Yeah, so my CEO, Dan Shapiro, he is the creator of the Kickstarter's best-selling board game called Robot Turtles, and it's a game to teach kids, toddlers age, the basics of coding. Basically, they tell the computer what to do in the form of little turtles that move around. And he did it on Kickstarter, and he wanted to do sort of a special prize, where a special funder level or backer level, where you could get a physical little turtle to bring around with you. And he likes maker spaces, and he likes tinkering with things. And so he thought, oh, I'll go to a maker space and I'll get the little turtles 3D printed. And he did that, and he was just so disappointed with the results. They took forever to print. They were expensive, and they were just these little plastic things. And 3D printing, traditional 3D printing with plastic filament, can be awesome for prototyping and for a lot of things. But he ultimately decided to make some turtles with a laser, with cutting with acrylic, and he was able to make them look just like the board game pieces. And while working with the laser, he realized that the lasers out there right now are lacking a little bit. They're hard to use. If you buy something on eBay from China, I certainly couldn't use it. We have an old Chinese laser here called Hugo, and it has kind of its own old software. It sort of looks like the software was built in 1995, and it took a lot of hand-holding for me to do anything with it. And so we're trying to reimagine that experience by bringing the price way down, making it cloud-based, and just making it available for a lot more people to kind of reclaim that idea of making things at home rather than buying them all the time. Dan really knew that he had struck gold with the idea when his two twins, who are 7, started asking him to make gifts or for their friends for birthday parties rather than buy them with the laser. And he was like, oh, everybody could use one of these. Yeah, so.
That's really neat. And you guys ended up generating over 10,000 email addresses with the KickoffLabs campaign. And that was before you started asking for money. So what made you want to generate leads first before you started just having a page, like a pre-order page? Why not just put up a pre-order page or a Kickstarter page right away?
Yeah. Well, I think we had sort of an email capture already on the page that had gotten maybe 800 that were just sort of like trickle in. Like Dan had gotten a piece in the New York Times, and a lot of people visited glowforge.com, but this old stealth mode website was really very vague, and like you really wouldn't know what the product is, and we weren't doing any marketing to drive people to it. And so when they brought me on board, sort of this first non-engineer marketing role, I was kind of tasked with choosing like one social platform that we were going to really concentrate on. So is it Facebook? Is it Instagram? Is it Twitter? And I experimented with some campaign ideas about each of those, and I sort of read, was doing some research on kind of preparing for a crowdfund, and I happened across the Tim Ferriss article about the Harry's razor launch, which of course was Kickoff Labs, but I did not know at the time. And so then I just started researching a ton of different referral campaign, reward campaign, list building, and I thought, you know what our social platform should be? It should be email. Let's invest in email. Let's invest in building an email list and sort of developing a relationship with potential backers via email first. And so that's what we did. So I just really dug into it, and we did not expect to gather 10,000. That was above and beyond our expectations. But it was great. It was really nice to know that we would not be launching to crickets.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to build a line before you even build the line. That way, you know, you've got an audience you can talk to. One of the numbers that stood out, 21% conversion rate is amazing, especially for, I tell people when they judge conversion rates, it's kind of based on what the expectation is. And you guys were upfront. I mean, I looked at your page. I mean, there was going to be a cost. You were going to be asking, $500,000 or whatever. Or not $500,000, but you were going to be asked, in the range of over $500 of something that people were going to ask to purchase. And so it's easy to get a high conversion rate if you're going to be selling something for $5 particularly, but when you're trying to find people who might be willing to invest the kind of money you guys are going to charge for this for this printer, it's an amazing conversion rate. And I think that number is helped a lot by the second number, which I'm showing here, which is the viral boost. And
yes.
For anyone that doesn't know, within Kickoff Labs, this is the measure of the percentage of leads that came from a customer referral. And you are obviously probably much more inclined to sign up for something if a friend recommended it. And so, this means that of those 10,000 leads, over 7,000 of them were referred from somebody else.
Yeah, actually, and I want to explain this without confusing everyone, but actually this was so encouraging to us that we ended up mimicking a similar campaign, a similar referral program into our sales. So right now, if you were to purchase a Glowforge, there's a referral campaign to refer people to buy, because we found that this, like, being referred by a friend about our product was so effective. So we actually have 2 referral campaigns. The one that we're talking about during this webinar today is obviously the Kickoff Labs one, pre-launch only, but we found it so successful that we continued that the idea into now. So people are still referring their friends for Glowforge.
You guys didn't, it's a fairly simple page. I mean, I can show the 2 sides here. You've got a top half of the page where it says the 3D laser printer that makes beautiful things. But you did have, something about this page that stuck out to me that a lot of people forget is an incentive. And the next line goes great into the incentive, which says our first Glowforges will be half price. We don't want you to miss out. And so how did you guys come up with that as the incentive for somebody to sign up? And then the call to action as a best practice, I love that you guys did this. The call to action button matches that headline. It says, half off, please.
Yeah.
And so how did you guys come up with that? And what did you guys, experiment with?
Yeah, well, we knew that we were going to launch at half price, and Glowforge was half price for the first 30 days, or so. That's the crowdfund that we're talking about, the amazing $27.9 million. Those were all at half MSRP. They're still on sale now for 40% MSRP, because that's just something we can maintain right now before we're in retail. But we knew that this was going to be extra special because our price point actually it's actually raised since then too, but began at $19.95. So you're looking at a $4,000 machine that they were getting for $2,000, and that was just for the basic model. So we knew that was huge, and we knew that our price difference compared to other products, other similar products out there, is substantially lower. And so people who did manage to make it onto this site were referred by someone else who's interested in lasers. Maybe it's some guy they know at their makerspace, or they're a teacher at a STEM school, and this would be an awesome product to have at their school. So we kind of assumed that they came here knowing that half off was a big deal, and half off is a big deal for many products, right? But we actually we A/B tested and the heck out of this copy and tried to change it a couple times. I think this is sort of the final variation that you have right here. I do remember trying a couple different buttons and seeing which performed better, and the half off please is just so, we actually don't mention here at all anything about referring your friends, right? So they just think they're signing up for a mailing list, which they are, and that's great, and that was enough for us. And then they go to the thank you page and see that there's actually an opportunity to get even more than half off.
Yeah, and so,
right there.
Sorry, skip ahead to this page since you're talking about it. So once you signed up, you sent people to a page that looked, something like this. I'm sure you guys, again, tried a couple different variations.
Yeah.
And so talk about the referral bonuses that you gave people. So you not only incentivize people to sign up right away with saying, basically saying, if you want half off, you should sign up now. So now they've signed up, and at this step in the process, you're trying to get them to refer friends. And obviously, it was incredibly successful for you guys with that high viral boost rate. But tell me about how you guys came up with this, with the referral program, and tell everybody a little bit about this referral program you did.
Yeah. So first of all, we were really careful with our copy. You can see below the link to share. It says, we made these links just for you. We'd be flattered if you use them. So it's sort of not like it's not on brand for us to be really in your face or demanding. Just sort of like, we did this for you, and we hope that you feel that you have people you can share it with. So that was important, because the referral program, I know, may not seem that it fits well with every type of brand, especially if you've got sort of a luxury feeling brand or a more expensive product. While people, of course, always want to save money, you don't want to sound like you're discounting your product or anything too much. So we had to be very thoughtful about how we executed this. So what ours looked like was one friend signing up was $100, 5 friends signing up was $150, and then $200 for 10 friends. And then at 25, what we did was when anyone hit 25, I was keeping my eye on it, and I would actually contact them personally and kind of say, hey, like, I noticed that you referred a lot of people, and what's your story, and can we work together? And so I ended up I think it was really just a handful. Only 10 people have done it. Yeah, that ended up they worked somewhere. Were involved in a really relevant community for us, and so we were able to just say, can we offer you a bigger discount to reach even more of your community and tell even more people about Glowforge, and then I don't know if you want me to get into this now, but this also we also had email triggers with each of these milestones, which we found very effective and pretty much the key to the success of this.
So I want to go into both things. So I actually
Yeah.
am intrigued by the personal reach out, and so we get this question a lot, which is, hey, if somebody does hit a high number like 25 or 50, referrals, what should we do for them to make it worthwhile? So, and you were reaching out personally to each of these because you knew the number was going to be low enough that you could do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And was that worthwhile for you guys to reach out personally to them? Did you guys get a good return on your time being invested in working with them directly?
Yeah, I think so. It wasn't a large number, and it was an easy exchange. It was sort of like, oh, we're gonna kind of unlock your not refund, discount amount. So for every 10 more you get, it'll be another $100 or whatever it is. I can't actually remember exactly what we offered, but it's pretty simple, and it was just like we were just able to kind of add that to their account when they made the purchase, and they were people. I mean, if they had referred 25 people, they were people who knew people and who would be interested in Glowforge, and those especially at this early time, we weren't really sure who those people were, and so that was really valuable to us. And it was just cool to see who these people were. I mean, that was interesting. You get this random name, and you're like, what do you do that you know all these people that are interested in buying a laser? And it turns out that they, were involved with some kind of fabrication or whatever it is. So.
It turns out they really were influencers in your space. Like they really
exactly were influencers. That's a great way to phrase it. Mm-hmm.
Something else that's a best practice on this page that I love is that you had a friends sign up at a level, and I tell people this all the time, is that they need to have a level that feels achievable, like 2 or 3, because I know if you asked me today, go get 10 people to do something, I couldn't get 10 people to do anything today. Like I just couldn't organize them. I couldn't get them to do it within a day's time, and it would take a lot of effort. But if you said, hey, could you get 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 people to sign up for something, I bet I could get 1 to 2 people to sign up for just about anything in a day, in a day's time. And so why did you? That's why we tell people to start out with a really low number for the first reward. What made you guys choose 1 and 5 for your first numbers there?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what you said. It feels attainable, and you probably have one friend that you could at least say, not that that's what we want. We want people who are hopefully also interested in a Glowforge, but most people have at least one friend that they could text and say, can you sign up for this because it'll help me get $100 off. And so it's just something that they could do right then, right? Because like you said, if it's 10 or if it's 20 or something like that, it's like, oh, that's going to take me weeks, and I'm going to have to share it again and again. Yeah. And so we were hoping that it's just like, put this out here now, see if someone, and tons of people did, and I remember looking at the data later, and many people only referred one person, but that doubled, and then sometimes that one person they referred was huge for us or whatnot. So.
And so
that's why we did that.
Tell us about the triggers. So you mentioned the email triggers at 1 and 5, and so what happened at each of those levels that people achieved?
Right. So upon sign up for the mailing list, they got an email from me. We decided to use, although my CEO Dan is sort of the main public figure for the brand these days, for the referral campaign, the email referral campaign, it was really me. And so it was all written in my voice. It was very, you'll see that as sort of a trend for companies right now. You'll see, I see emails from Josh from KickoffLabs and whatnot. But so lots of executives or marketing people try to kind of humanize and create a character, an online persona for themselves that potential customers can meet and feel connected to in some way. And we wanted to do that because we felt I was relatable, and I'm also not a super laser aficionado. I'm kind of like a normal person that thinks that this is cool and is learning how to use it along with you. And I think that was friendly. And so, so there was an email from me for each one, and in each one I had a different laser item. So there was a selfie of me in each one that I would be, this is my phone, this is not a laser item, but I'd be like, wow, I made this really amazing laser engraved phone case. This is not one example, but in each one. So one I had a pair of leather laser made sandals that one of our designers had made specially for my feet here. One I had this really cool travel purse that zipped up, and so many people responded to the emails. I got every time, I just the whole campaign, I would get so many responses. I'm so excited for Glowforge. That's so cool. How did you make that? Can it do this? Would this work with that kind of material? It just got people so excited to see that we really already had a product and we're doing things with it, and that was just invaluable. And then actually on our launch day, when I had this list of 10,000 plus people, I sent out an email to them to announce that we'd launched, because they were supposed to be the first to know, and it was a selfie with me and the Glowforge, and it was the first time like they'd ever seen actually Glowforge, and it was taken in a hotel room. We were about to take the Glowforge to Maker Faire, New York the next day, and we had it in the hotel room, and I was trying to take a selfie with the Glowforge behind me, and it's really silly, but it kind of went along with the whole story. And so that was all of the Kickoff Labs folks' first shot at the Glowforge, and then they could click right to our site and see that it was available for pre-order. So it was just a really fun experience for everybody who had gotten several emails from me.
They were getting emails from you, so they were getting the trigger emails if they reached referral target. And then what were you guys doing throughout the process of your launch, to keep in contact with them and leading up to that pre-order?
We did a couple emails, maybe the couple weeks before. We didn't do much. We really didn't want to infiltrate people with a ton of emails, but I think in maybe the first sort of you signed up for our list one, they were encouraged to follow us on social, and we did a couple updates about when we'd be launching then, but we were pretty hush-hush about our dates until maybe 2 weeks before. I think we did email everyone and say, hey, we're going to be launching in 2 weeks, and so if you are only 1 or 2 away from your next referral level, do that now, because I'd love for you to be able to get $300 off, because it did stop. They weren't able to refer more come September 24th. So we did a couple separate campaigns, but we kept it to a minimum. We didn't want to drive people crazy. This is not a company I want to buy something from and then hear from every week. So yeah.
But I think the point being, you guys didn't just not communicate to them at all, and then several months later you send out a mail say, hey, buy our product with this selfie. That wasn't the only mail that most people only communication you guys were working towards. You were trying to tell a little bit of a story through social, tell a little bit of a story through through the referral emails that were going out, and then you sent, like you said, those reminders saying, hey, in 2 weeks we are going to be giving you an opportunity. So you prepped them, so when that mail came, so that when that first pre-order mail came, it was not a shock, and people remembered who you were.
Right, exactly, and I think that also felt like something that they exclusively got to know, because we didn't post anything on social that we were launching a pre-order in 2 weeks or anything like that. It was sort of that group got to know, and I believe we wrote that pretty intentionally, so they would know that they were really getting the first, check your email that morning, it's going to be there, and we actually sold it. I mean, we made our first $1 million in 14 hours. So we sold at such a rate that for some people getting in there that first day was really important to them to make sure that their place in line was as early as it possibly could be.
I love people that just lead into the next question, which was the question I get all the time is hey, I got 10,000 people. What could I possibly expect those 10,000 people to do? So if you can share a little bit about the initial early results that you saw from the pre-order. What happened when you guys did open the pre-order, now that you had an email list that you announced it to?
Yeah, so we sent out we sort of had a big launch day. We had a press and a press release, and we were launching at an event, although the event was on day 2. So launch day, we weren't actually at an event, but sent out the email, and it was sort of acted as a patient zero, you know what I mean? You can think of our Kickoff Labs people sort of as patient zeros for us, where even if they didn't buy, because I don't have numbers on exactly how many of people from Kickoff Labs purchased. I could do some data digging, but I haven't done that recently. I do know it converted pretty well though. But they sort of like, even if they were already excited about it, so even if they maybe couldn't afford to buy or whatnot, a lot of them posted about it. A lot of them wrote back and were excited. And so, yeah, I mean, we just saw an incredible response. Sales went faster than we expected. And we had sort of a internal, wow, it would sure be great if we could hit $2 million in our 30 days, and we hit that in like 2.5 days or something like that. And we were just like, wow, it's great, it's exciting. And we both of these campaigns, the pre-launch referral campaign and then the actual crowdfund itself, both were far larger and more successful than we could have dreamed with such a small team. So exciting.
Cool. So let's go back in time a little bit. I want to talk about the gathering the initial emails. So you set up that page once you started collecting the email addresses, using your site and Kickoff Labs to power the referrals.
Yes.
How did you go about promoting that page, and what kind of worked and what didn't work?
Promoting it. So prior to launching Kickoff Labs, we had an existing email list. Like we'd had just a, I don't know, Google Forms capture or something like that to collect emails. And when I came on board, I think there was less than 1,000. And so I was like, wow, we really need to get more. And so we did send an email to everyone who was already on our list, because in some ways those were the people that were most excited. They'd been sort of following Glowforge ever since they'd seen a couple teaser articles about that Dan and Tony were starting a company, and it was going to be something to do with lasers. And so they'd been on since that. And so we definitely like wanted them in our campaign. So we actually emailed them to let them know. We created their link for them, their kind of their social ID, and we sent them an email with it. And we're like, hey, we're doing this program now. If you wanted to refer friends, we want to make sure that you're going to be able to get a discount because you're our first backers. And so that was sort of the first way we did the first, and one of the biggest things we did to promote it. And again, that was sort of like a patient zero situation where a lot of them had influential communities and helped kind of get the ball rolling for us. Another thing that kind of happened to us, and this was really totally by accident, but we ended up on the front page of Reddit accidentally, believe it or not, because if any marketers out there have ever tried to market on Reddit, it's not a great idea. They don't like it. If you're on Reddit, you don't go to Reddit to see advertisements. You go to Reddit to be real and talk about cool things that people are doing or whatever, talk about anything. But it was after we'd launched our Kickoff Labs campaign, and we overnight got, I don't even know, 400 or 700 signups or something, and we thought, wait, what? And we had a picture, an image on our website of a Settlers of Catan board that was laser engraved and cut, and it's gorgeous. And someone had pulled that and put it on Reddit, and then someone had said, oh, it's from this website. Anyway, and so that kind of gave us another like accidental organic boost. And we did some follow up on Reddit. We actually ended up hiring an artist to make that game board so that we owned the design and were able to offer it to people who were interested. But yeah, that was kind of an accidental promotion. And then we had some more press that promoted the page, and we had sort of let's see, what else did we do? A little bit on social, I think but the main thing was that it just sort of did it itself, because people were tweeting the link so much. I mean, Glowforge was on Twitter thousands of times before it even launched. It was almost a little bit like we actually had to make some rules about with our community about like not just spamming their referral link on every topic. Like, we'll cut you off, and which was kind of funny to have to do. We didn't expect for it to be like that successful. So yeah.
That's really neat. So I love the story. I love that story about the accidental promotion, and it's great that you guys ran with it, because that's how a lot of things happen. Like all of a sudden, people will notice like, hey, this community online mentioned this, and it happened because you had a great hero image shot on your website,
Right.
And then from that hero image, people took action and said, hey, this hero image is really cool because you created something that was shareable. People said it was really cool, and then you guys went and kind of further encouraged it, like by producing it, by licensing it, and making it work. And so what, and it's great to hear that people are sharing, almost oversharing the referral
Yeah.
links. Are there things that you guys tried to do to market that say didn't work very well?
Um, not not really. Like I said, like because before launch we just couldn't share a lot about our product, and so we we really were being a little bit more stealth and weren't doing too many big initiatives to push it. Like we launched this Kickoff Labs campaign in I think exactly 2 months before we launched, so it was about 8 weeks that we collected all those addresses, and in that time we were also like building the new website and I was project managing that, and so and sort of building the referral campaign into it and stuff, and so no, we just kind of let it do its thing, believe it or not. I mean, we had a little bit of press, a little bit of pre-launch press, then that drove impressions to the site and helped, but I mean, it honestly got to a point where I think if we kept it going past launch, we could have gotten even more and more and more, because it just sort of gets exponential. It got to a point, I remember like I used to go home and get on TweetDeck and see how many people were tweeting their referral links and like be really excited if it was 5, and it got to a point where it was like 20 and then it was 50 and I just couldn't even keep track of it anymore. And so it just really kind of like, it just started working once we were at a certain number.
Did you guys invest in any advertising?
Pre-launch? No, we did not. No.
Since the pre-launch?
Yeah, yeah. Since the pre-launch we've done we do Facebook ads. That's been our big one. And we did and actually the reason that we were like, Facebook might be a great place for us to invest was because of Kickoff Labs, because we saw it as a big referral source. And Twitter too, but Facebook, because we had this like beautiful shareable image. I think you might have a picture of that like our co-founder whipped up that had some cool Glowforge made crafts in it, and so we saw people sharing that a lot too.
Did you guys, go through a couple of variations of this?
Yeah, we definitely did, because I mean, like I said, when this started, it was kind of just me working on it, and I had been tasked with finding something that was, going to be the winner for us, a social platform to concentrate on. And I said, email or referral campaign, that's what it's going to be. And so it was really kind of just my pet project at first. And so I had made, and I'm not a designer, I had made a little image like that on, I don't know, some design program online that just wasn't as beautiful or up to par with the Glowforge design standards as our co-founder Tony would like. And so when we saw how much that was getting shared, he was like, oh, we better have a much better image. And so, I mean, and so it's funny, you can see there that it says half off, please. But that's not actually a button, that's just an image. And so we sort of like replicated the experience of the website there. And yeah.
No, I mean, I find it's a great technique, and some people ask, should they have the text in that image or just the hero image of the shot? I like this combination of the text in the image and the copy, because you guys had such great copy and you were consistent with the message between the image and the copy, because it says Glowforge, the desktop laser, so it's a great, like, immediately you're saying what it is, and then you're saying what you can do with it, create beautiful things quickly from leather, wood, fabric, paper, and more. And then you're saying, get half off, or you're back to your half off copy. But then the text headline says, secure your Glowforge laser printer for half the price. And something that I see a lot of people do when they're marketing is they feel like, well, I've already said half off, so I don't need to say it again. And so they'll say something else, and then before you know it, in a tiny little advertisement space, they've said 3 or 4 different things. And I said, well, why don't you stick with the main message, which is what it is in your offer? I said, well, I already said that. But you don't realize that people who are looking at this on their Facebook feed, they may only read one of the 3 different things that show up here, right? And so you want to make sure they're consistent and they're saying the same thing. And you guys did a great job with that throughout the.
I think that's another thing that we tested actually too. I do remember doing a couple iterations of this copy and really deciding to focus on one thing, and because something like this pre-launch was pretty challenging actually, because we didn't have any images of the product to share.
Yep.
So it was kind of like, what is it? And so instead we really had to lead with the things it can make, and really just that half off. Like, we know you might not fully understand what the product is, but you can get it for half off. So just make sure that you're looped in so you don't miss out on that.
Yep. And then this is, I think, the email copy in the end you had when somebody would click email a friend. And it's a little bit small to read probably, but just to say, The subject is simple, Glowforge 3D laser printer, and the copy says Glowforge is launching their 3D laser printer soon, and the first units are going to be half off. I just signed to be notified and you're available. You should too.
Yep.
And so you're kind of just pre-populating an email with a really simple message.
Yeah, and I'm sure people changed it and whatever, but the core message being there is important because maybe a lot of people didn't change it, and that was just, we could try to have a little control over making sure they explained it right. I remember that was the notified. I signed up to get notified. The notified word was one that we played with a lot, like with the half off, please. I think for a while we had notify me, and we tried it for a couple different things.
You went through a fairly typical progression. I mean, I think Izzy did some research and pulled up that you guys went from, looking at the web archive of the page, you guys went from a simple like submit on the Google form page to subscribe, which is slightly better than submit, and then to notify me, and then eventually to the get half off on the page. And that's, people start to realize how important that call to action is to align with your incentive. And I'm sure each one of those changes made a good change in the conversion rate.
We also did a lot of testing with the different places that we had the email capture. Like, I don't know if you can tell from the shots that you had, but we had it right there front and center on the page. Yeah, and then we had one at the bottom.
Yep.
We had pop-ups. We had all sorts of stuff.
That's what I said. Like, you didn't miss an opportunity to make sure people knew there was an email sign up. So you had this is a Kickoff Labs exit intent widget. It looks like popping up saying, sorry for popping up, but we don't want you to miss out. Again, I love the personality to the copy, because you don't just say don't miss out. You're not shouting at the person. You're just like, sorry, I want to do this, but I just want to make sure. It's
I had to fight for the bounce widget a little bit. I remember, not fight for it, but I had to really I had to think about it, because it does feel a little in your face, a little rude or something. A pop-up. Everyone hates pop-ups. So I looked very carefully over at how effective it was, and I remember we tried different times, like have it bounce after however many seconds. But we found it effective. I mean, it was gathering addresses. Certainly the most effective. I remember at one point I had a breakdown of where on the page people were actually choosing to submit, and there was a time that the one on the bottom was more. Even though it doesn't have as much like fun copy. It has a half off, please, and everything, but I think it was just because people needed to read the website, and I just wanted it to be there again, because, goodness forbid that they forgot. So, I think we even ended up putting the email capture on Dan's blog at one point too. So we just tried all sorts of things to get the best that we could out of this, and we were really happy with it.
Yeah, I think the reality is with a product like this, you never really know what copy is going to convince somebody that this is it for me, right? Yeah. Like, it could be like somebody who's reading the top of the page, like, I'd love to make something like that looks like that at the top of the page, and they sign up at the top of the page, and then that doesn't convince people. They get down to the bottom and it says push button printing. Oh, I could go for push button printing, and then that's the one that convinces them. And when somebody makes the decision, they say, I'm interested. You guys had a form there to capture exactly. Their address.
Yep.
Then going back to, I know we're skipping around a lot.
Yeah, I keep bringing up different things.
This was the tweet that you guys had to. Is this the tweet you guys saw a lot of on Twitter?
Yeah, and again, I mean, we iterated this one a few times too, but I'm already on the list. Please retweet, and people did. It was crazy. I wasn't sure if that was gonna if I wasn't sure how comfortable people were really gonna be with tweeting this kind of thing, because I know sometimes I enter really cool contests to win an apartment makeover and everything like that, but you have to tweet all these links at your friends, and it feels spammy, and a lot of people are just hesitant to do that these days. And so I just wanted to make this really straightforward. I'm already on the list. That sounds like we wanted to make it clear that it wasn't like we wanted to make it clear that the person tweeting it was like already on the list, like, I'm already doing this, like, you know me, and you know that I wouldn't do something that's going to be annoying or spammy or anything. And so you know me, and I'm on the list, and I guess that was the idea behind it, sort of this consistency of you trust my judgment, you should check it out.
Yep.
And yeah, that's the idea behind a whole referral campaign, right?
Yep.
It would be so interesting if we could really delve into how the numbers between referring people that you actually know in person and
Hmm.
then just maybe influencers that you follow and which one's more powerful. Because I would wager that it might be people that you know in person for messaging like this.
When you came in from a referral, it would actually say, you know, Bailey thought you'd like this. And if we had a picture of Bailey, we'd put a picture of Bailey there on the website. And that, again,
Yes.
played into making it more personal like you're doing with the rest of your copy.
Yes, and how we did that was, I mean, we worked on a customization with you. I believe we did that through full contact, meaning that it uses the person's email address to pull their photo from any public social handle or anything like that. So yeah, if I click through and say Bailey's going to Glowforge at half price and she doesn't want you to miss out, and that was pretty cool. We had so many people that were like, "Wait, whoa!" And we
Did you
actually
get the
even
email say, how'd you get Bailey's picture?
No, no. We were wondering if people would be freaked by it, but I think we all know that our faces are very public online if
Yeah.
we've allowed them to be. It can't be too surprising anymore. But we continued that personalization into our current referral program to ease the faces because we thought that was pretty effective. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I actually totally forgot that we did that with Kickoff Labs as well, and that's where the genius began, of course.
What advice, or if somebody asked for advice, what advice would you give people who are going down a similar path?
I mean, I would definitely advise that they invest in doing cus any customizations that they think are going to make it better. I mean, one thing that I remember having to uh, ask a designer for or just push back on a couple times was that we really wanted the blue lines, how many you've gotten. We really wanted the like chevron, the arrows pushing
Yep.
forward. We thought that that visual was so important. And I remember like feeling silly having to be like, okay, but can it look exactly like this and drafting it up? But I think those details are why it was so effective. I mean, I worked really hard on the emails and the selfies and all that. And I think we could have totally launched this with a third of the effort and it would have done okay. And I think really so if I was going to do it again, I would put this much effort, maybe even more if that's possible into it because I think just the extra personalization and the extra making it feel our main goal with the reason that we did it custom and the reason that um, we wanted all the specific copy and everything. We wanted this to feel our ideal situation was that someone comes in through Kickoff Labs and then eventually purchases the Glowforge and then they're a Glowforge owner and we will have an ongoing brand relationship with them for years as they use their Glowforge. And we wanted this to feel seamless, like not feel like a totally different company that was maybe trying to sell you something and then hopefully you bought it. And we wanted it to feel seamless. And so since our website has changed, it's maybe not completely seamless, but the feeling behind it, the not being too pushy, and just putting in that extra work with the personalization was just so worth it.
Tell me a little bit about the personalization and the copy, because I think when you say the level of detail and considering, thinking about the detail, when I look at all the assets now put together for the campaign and I see it, it feels like you guys sweated like every word of copy.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good thing, but tell me about the process of how you guys kept evolving the copy.
Yeah, and I told your other team members that I'd share some of the emails that are the Bailey emails that came at the 1 and 5. So maybe those will get posted in a follow-up post so you can see the actual copy. But I mean, literally the process was Dan and I and whoever else we could wrangle in sitting in a room and talking through the copy and me reading out loud and saying, does this sound I want to sound genuine. Like I want to get people excited about Glowforge, but I don't want to come across as, I'm just pushing something on you and it's an expensive product. And we do want people to buy it who want it and who are excited about it. And so, yeah, I mean, it was it was a process of sitting down and writing it out loud together and a little painstaking at times. And but just that extra effort, I don't know. That's how we can kind of continued with everything we write here, and I think it makes all the difference. And I wouldn't have believed that like a year ago.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I tell people all the time, is like, no matter what the visuals are on the page, you can't be sloppy with the words, because the web, I mean, if you look at websites, no matter what website it is, it's generally at least 70-80% text. It's not the 30%, but people, I mean, it's important to sweat both aspects, and I always tell customers that the visual should back up the copy and the copy should back up the visuals. Neither one should have to stand on their own, but if you had to pick one to stand on their own, it should be the copy. It should be able to stand on its own. Like if somebody were just reading it through a screen reader or just text, it should tell a compelling story and sound interesting to folks.
Well, and especially for us and maybe other companies who are using this as a pre-launch or like a teaser campaign or whatnot, I didn't have amazing visuals, and I didn't have a lot of like specific product information that I could share. So I really needed to get people excited with, you know, the idea behind the company and the people at the company and the things that we were making. Because I didn't have a beautiful hero shot of the Glowforge to show them, and I didn't have a detailed tech spec page to show them. So the copy being more about the people and like you being part of this big new thing that was coming was, I had to do that. That's what I had to give them, you know.
And a couple more questions that I'm just kind of pulling from the chat that just recently came up. You said we talked earlier about the 10 people that got to 25. How did you guys manage fraud, like people trying to take advantage of the referral, and did you see much of that? Was it a big problem for you guys?
Yeah. That's funny that you mentioned that. Yeah. No, we did not see a lot of it. We saw a few individual cases of it, and I actually reached out to those people and told them, like, I can tell that you just made 5 variations of your email address, mike+1@gmail.com and mike+5. I was referring himself. I mean, it was seriously so isolated, and I was actually very worried about it because I sort of did a mock of this campaign before I set it live, and I sent it to our team, which at the time was like, 4 software developers or something, and right away they did that. And made a bunch of some fake email addresses, and they were like, this is what people are going to do. And I was like, oh no, that's terrible. But that wasn't the case. And so, I mean, I didn't do anything very technical to manage it. I kept a close eye on our submissions, and they were pretty easy to spot. And I know that you guys have some documentation talking through how one might manage fraud, and they basically just got removed from the list for doing that. We had some like rules and regulations, and it wasn't an issue.
A quick question from the stats, and I can share my screen really quickly, but on the total conversions, there's one day in particular, like you've got this constant spike of about 300 conversions per day over the 2 months, and then there's one day where it looks like you get up to over 900 email addresses collected in that one day. Do you recall what happened on that day?
I don't recall. I mean, there's a couple things that it could have been. It could have been the Reddit day. Like I said, Reddit sort of spiked maybe the day after even, just because I think we saw on Google Analytics something like 1,200 people came to our page from Reddit, and then 400 of them or something signed up, and then a lot of them shared. And so I actually think that might have been Reddit aftermath. Also, one of our investors, Brad Feld, has a great blog and talks about new products that he has invested in or just thinks are rad. And I know when he posted about us that was one of our bigger days too, so that could have been it. But I'm thinking that it was Reddit, which was, again, just sort of an accident that we were lucky enough to have happened to us and then acted quick. I mean, that was one of the days that I was at the office till after midnight, lasering up a board for the post so that we could give them the files, which are actually still live if you want them.
How would you say Kickoff Labs worked for you guys?
I mean, I think right now if you ask any of our co-founders, one of the main successes behind our launch in general was referral. So I think it worked great. I think it was a really nice way to start off my time here at Glowforge with a bang. And I was so pleased to have it be so easy for someone non-technical like me. I mean, although I work at a hardware startup and stuff, I don't have any coding experience or anything really, and I just had this idea and they let me run with it, and I was really able to be the main contact and the main project manager of the whole thing and have a lot of control over what the end result looked like. and I'm just a marketer.
Is there anything that you thought that, I should have asked, or that we should have asked that we didn't, or anything we didn't touch on that you kind of wish or were prepared for?
I guess, I mean, I know that when I was sort of starting the campaign, the thing that was really flummoxing to me was I didn't know what to offer as reward levels. Like, it was really hard to determine. I thought it was tricky to determine like what people were going to deem valuable on a $2,000 purchase. Because the Harry's campaign, I mean, we were looking at that and it was so hugely successful, but they were able to, offer a $5 reward or, low value actual physical items that people would get. We didn't have anything like that. And for a while we played with like, oh, if you get 10 friends, should you get X% off of purchases from our catalog that won't be launched for months and months? And that didn't sound very exciting. And so we played with, so I think, I don't have a lot anything really scientific to share with you about how we came up with the numbers, but we thought $100 sounded like a good discount, and it was enough to really get people to. I think I always would love to know, like, a parallel universe, if we had started with $50, if it would have been half as effective. I think $100 feels like a lot to people, even though it's really a small amount on this giant purchase. So figuring out reward levels is probably so different depending on your product.
Yeah. And I think you guys went about it the right way. And like you said, you have to weigh it against, the cost of the product, and you sort of consider it like a marketing budget. If you're willing to give a discount in exchange for the referral, like, how much is a referral worth to you? And the only generalized advice is what we talked about earlier that I give people, which is make sure to have something at both the low end and the high end, and be prepared for, a couple at the high end, a smaller percentage, obviously, and at the low end, be prepared that there's, if you do 1 to 2 or, within 5, there's going to be a great deal of people that fall within that range. And so what can you do to make those people feel special at scale?
And I need help.
Like I said, I love the concept of the product. I love the story. You did an amazing job managing this campaign. You guys are fun to work with. One of my favorite customers that we've worked with so far. And it wouldn't matter if you guys had collected it would have mattered, but it wouldn't have mattered if you guys had collected 1,000 or 10,000 emails. I would have wanted to tell your story, because I just think you guys did a great job all the way through the process, and way that other people could learn from, and hopefully have learned from throughout this webinar. And so check out Glowforge. If you haven't, check out KickoffLabs.com if you want to run your own pre-launch campaign and gather email addresses. It's something we specialize in.
Thanks for listening. It's been fun to watch the downloads happen from all over the world of our first 2 podcast episodes. Shout out to most of the 7 continents so far. If you like this episode, give us a positive review in iTunes or your favorite podcasting service, and let me know at josh@kickofflabs.com.